Hello and welcome to Art in the AM. This is the ABCs of art that I have been doing over the past year during 2026, and I have a full playlist on my YouTube channel that you can access, and you can watch all of the videos up to this point leading up to letter X today. Normally I put the description in the live video, and I also send out a text. You can let me know if you get my text messages. I normally only send them out when I go live, which is at Monday, 10:30 Eastern, and I send those text messages out with the letter and what the word is, and I put that in the description. And today I decided not to do that because, as you can imagine, there are not too many words in general that start with X, and especially since I've been trying to pick art-related words, there are not too many X words. So I'm going to show you the materials that I have and what I'm going to be working on today, and I will tell you the letter as I get, or the word for the letter X as I get working here. But I'm working in this watercolor book, which is a 5.5 by 8.5 inch size. And I like this size because I feel like I can get it done in a shorter amount of time than something larger. And I like the watercolor. It's heavier. It's 140 pounds. So I can do watercolor. I can do mixed media. I can glue things, which I'm going to be doing today. I can do all of those things without feeling like the paper is going to buckle or, you could also use mixed media paper that's a heavier weight. The difference I feel like between mixed media paper and watercolor paper is really the surface, like the texture. Mixed media paper usually is a smoother surface. So for mixed media things, that works out pretty well that you don't have a lot of texture. I like that I have the flexibility in this one. If you watched last week, I did these 4 techniques with the watercolor, and it worked out really well because it was the watercolor paper. And it's maybe a little warped, but probably if I sat a book on top of it after it dries and just let it would flatten out. And sometimes I will like roll it over the table to be able to just get it to flatten out. So I'm going to be working on this next page. I am going to work horizontally, which is what I've been doing in the book up to this point. And if this is your very first time watching, because I know I have a lot of new people over on YouTube, a lot of new subscribers, new people watching my videos. My name is Jamie. Welcome. These are my videos that I've been doing since 2020, at least one a week. When I first started, a lot more than one a week. But I try to do at least the ABCs of art, the Art in the AM, on Mondays at 10:30 Eastern, and usually have some kind of a theme. So I'm not telling you my word yet. If you have an idea of any kind of an X word that you feel like I could use for, hi Wanda, hi Sue, for an art-related word that starts with X, go ahead and put that in the comments because I'm curious if you have one. And I will tell you right after I show the supplies I'm going to use what the word is. And like I said, it was a challenge to find an art word related to, or that starts with the letter X. So I'm going to use horizontally. And I just found this book, this collage book. And when I saw the pictures in here, I knew that it would fit with the word that I picked today. So this is a cutout and collage magical book, and it is by Tandy Art, which is, I don't even know how to pronounce her name. I'm just going to say that it's Tandy Art, but it does have her name on here, and I know it's going to be backwards, but how fun is just the cover, right? And it gives you kind of like a preview of, butterflies and little people and, all of these different things, but just the design of the cover is just something that I want to use. And I was looking for it yesterday because I couldn't remember where it was. So I found it, and it has over 450 images, in here that you can cut out and use, and there are different papers and, you know, designs and little images and different people. It's just like such a fun, it just makes me smile. And there are even little ones like this where you can, you know, journal and do different things on top of there. So I'm going to be using that. I also have this fun paper, double-sided. You could use any kind of paper. Doesn't even have to have something on it already. So I will tell you about that. And then I have some, I just got these out for a project that I am doing in person. And it is, I think I have them right here. It is, well, these are different ones, but it's little cards like this, and I'm calling them prayer cards. And we were doing it live in here where I live on Saturday. So I was getting out all of these papers to be able to do these. And I don't know where my actual, oh, here's the actual set. Here's the actual set of the prayer cards. And then they have the scriptures that you can use to for prayer on the back. But that's my set of cards. So I was getting papers out, and I just started finding all kinds of scrapbook papers. That's what I call them. I don't know. You know, they're all of these like pads of paper. Do you have some of these? I have accumulated a lot of them, and I think they've mostly been given to me. I know, Kathy, X is really hard, but I have a word here for you. But this pack is really fun. It has all kinds of different images, but they have sparkles on them. I found this fun paper that is holographic. So I just have like a couple pads of paper, and I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to use those, but I wanted to have options. It's always good to have options, right? And then I'm going to use an envelope. And I have not decided if I want the envelope to almost fill up the whole space. I like that this one was already turquoise. Or do I want one that is a little bit smaller? And then I would have this space here. And then, like I said, I have options. I have options about like where I want to put it. Whereas this bigger one, there's really only one option. So, and then I have some paints around me. I have some markers. I have some different things. So I might use some of those too. And then I have I'll call it a tray. I think that it was originally a tray. And this is my tray of words and letters. So I'm hoping that I'm going to use that too. Honestly, I probably won't finish this because there's going to be a lot of parts to it. But what Wanda says, oh yeah, I have tons. And I think that's what you call these little books. I know a lot of people who do cards use these, but I always think of them like scrapbooking type books. Okay, here's my word that I picked. And I will tell you that right there, that little unicorn is kind of, I had already had the word picked out, but seeing that image, I kind of knew how I wanted to talk about it and how I wanted to do this page here. So here's the X word, because it was hard to find an X word, an art-related word that started with X. The word is X Factor. So tell me what you think X Factor like how would you define X Factor? And I am going to go ahead and cut out the unicorn that I want to use in here. I'm going to look through and see. I think there are a couple of different ones. While you are telling me, how would you define X Factor? Hi, Shannon. The word X Factor. If you saw my journal page that I did last night, I don't even know. Oh, here it is. The journal page that I did last night with this little owl on there, that was from that Tandy book. Because I had just found it. Okay, unicorn. Gotta focus here and find a unicorn that I want to use. Oh, that one's kind of fun. Oh, maybe this one. Okay, I'm gonna hold my finger and I'll show you maybe my choices. I think that's probably too big. So how would you define X factor? And I have another little choice in here that's like a little card, but I think, oh my gosh, I have to show you this too. I don't know where I'm going to use this, but how cute is that little koala bear with the little ribbon? So cute. Kathy says X factor is something extra and not expected. Hi there, Terry. I'm asking for your definition of X factor because that is my word today. I know that's probably not a typical X word, but I used the word X factor a couple of years ago at my Create retreat that I do, and it kind of stuck out to me. Okay, I think this little unicorn right there is the one that I'm going to use. So I'm going to cut that out. I may use some other pictures in here too. And just like with the the owl that I used, I may, change up this unicorn. I really like this one of the little girl on the unicorn, but I decided not to use that one. X factor for me is something unique that stands out. So we've got something extra, not expected, something unique that stands out. I don't know that I actually have a definition. I think at the retreat I did give a definition of X factor, and it is along the lines of what Terry and Kathy both said, is something unique and something that to me, I think related to maybe sports where I've heard the X factor, it's that it factor. It's the something. It's the thing that makes you stand out and make you unique. And anytime that I think about unique, I think of a unicorn. Partly because they both start with the same letter, right? I don't know. A unique unicorn. I don't know. They kind of sound, similar. But I think about a unicorn, and when I think about the X factor for people who create and how to relate this to art, here is, well, I'm curious. What would you say the X factor of an artist? And by artist, I mean anyone. Because anyone who creates something, and you create every single day, you do creative things. So by definition, you are an artist, even if you do not technically create art. I know that's maybe a new concept for you to understand, but you're an artist. So what would you say would be the X factor of an artist? I don't know that there's just one, but I have one that I feel like I have realized kind of stands out. So what would you say is the X factor of an artist? While I'm continuing to cut out my little unicorn here. The X factor, the something that makes an artist unique. Oh, Terry has the actual definition that I gave. Noteworthy special talent or quality. There you go. Thank you, Terry. I figured I probably had some kind of definition, so I'm glad that, I don't know how you pulled that out so quick. When you're cutting out something like this, do you leave the white space? Do you leave like a little bit of white space around it, or do you cut like right up next to? I am kind of leaving a little white space. Sometimes I don't. I don't know that I will between the legs right here. Let me see. There'll be just a tiny little bit. Oh, I think I need to cut just a little bit more right here. Okay, here is my little unicorn, and I left the white space around there. I just think that that's so cute. Like I could do multiples of this little unicorn like on my own and draw that out. And so Terry, that's awesome. You had it handy. Okay, I'm going to be putting this little unicorn on the front of my envelope so that smaller envelope fits pretty well. However, what do you think about, I really like it on the turquoise. I think I'm going to have to use the turquoise. Okay. What would you say, I'm going to take a drink of water. What would you say the X factor for an artist? So something noteworthy, a special talent or quality that an artist has. Someone who is creative, someone who creates. What would you say that X factor is? And then I'm going to go ahead and turn this around and I'm going to show you. Tell me if you saw the video I just did yesterday, and it was about me like folding up something. It was like folding up. Had a lot of people watch it, and then I thought, I never did exactly show what it was that I was doing. I didn't show how to create it. So I'm going to show today how I created that. So I'm actually going to do that next. That's where this piece of paper comes in. And I'm going to use the envelope here. So let me go ahead and turn this down so you can see the paper that I folded up on the video. You see my Monday Lisa little tank top that I have on today. So Shannon says the ability to let the creativity develop. Oh, Terry says quirkiness. Like I said, I don't know that there's a right answer. I'm curious, what your answer to an artist X factor is. So I'm going to show you on this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You can do this with any paper. I did it on a large 18 by 24 and it made a larger journal. But I'm going to show you how to fold. I'm going to start with the back, the inside here. And I'm going to fold it in half. And let me find something to crease it with. This is just copy paper, so it creases pretty easily. If you use a different kind of paper, it might not crease as easily, and that's when you really want something to press it down. So I did the hot dog fold, right? Have you heard of that? And then the hamburger fold. And then I'm going to unfold it and fold both of these in. So this is going to make a tiny little, what some people call a zine. So I'm going to fold that in, fold it back out. And essentially you'll have a grid. So I'll show you. But you could do it with any kind of paper. So I'm going to show you on this side here. You really can't see the folds, but imagine you've got 4 and 4, right? You've got 8 little rectangular pieces here. And the fold that goes from the center over to here, like this line right here, you're going to cut a slit. So I have my little cutting board here, my little tiny cutting board. I'll do it on this side just so you can kind of see a little bit easier. And I have this little tiny X-Acto blade. I could have used X-Acto. That's another X word right there. I could have used X-Acto. Did not even think about that. Where did I put my ruler? Oh, here it is, here it is. I have to keep things close. Okay, here's my fold here. Tell me if you have made one of these zines before. It's really a pretty easy process. So this little X-Acto knife, you put your finger through the loop there, and you may have seen it has a covering to put the blade in. And then I'm using my metal ruler, and I try to kind of hold down in two places, like the length of where I'm going to be cutting. And I'm just going to cut right on that slit. It needed to be tightened a little bit. Make sure when you're using an X-Acto knife, the blade is tight. And I'm not going to cut on the ends here, but just right here in the center. And I always make sure that I put it right back in to the covering, so it just kind of stays right on there. This is so handy. I'll get out my, actual X-Acto blade sometimes, but I really like this little, I just got this off Amazon. If you go to my Amazon page, I'm pretty sure that I have this listed in the list that I have on there of supplies. I'm pretty sure I got that on Amazon. So this piece of paper, this little book is going to go inside of my envelope. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to put this all together. So you can see there's a little slit right there. And what I like to do is to grab the two ends that I didn't cut, and I start to pinch them together, and then I push. And then I kind of push those together a little bit more so that it kind of stands up to like an X. And then I can lay it down. That was the part that I didn't really show on the video of like where I would cut. So now I can press all of these down and press it over. And I have made this little zine, is what they call it, a little book. And I wanted this on the outside. It's a double-sided piece of paper just because that's how I had it copied, but you don't need to have it double-sided, because what I'm going to do is to glue these papers together so that it just is the pages. You could also use like washi tape. I think that would be really fun to seal up the edges, and also add a little bit of just like decorative on there. So I'm going to glue these together. I'm going to use this art glitter glue. I don't have any glue sticks right now, so I've been using this, and it has like a really fine little point. So I actually like using it, and it sticks really, really well. So I glued those two together, and those two are already glued. And then I come back and glue this one. And I just kind of like line up. This glue sticks pretty fast. And I could glue like those together in there. I might run just a little bit just on the edge down there. And then on this one. So any place where you kind of want to, just have it close up. So this is my little zine. And, you know, I could color this in. I could, you know, decorate these pages however I wanted to. I mean, how cute is that little, just like a little book? And it's going to fit inside of this envelope here. Okay. So I'm going to have this envelope, and it still has writing on there. Now I got to find, where did it, oh my goodness. Oh, I almost thought I lost my unicorn there for a second. So it's going to be kind of right in here. So what I want to do in this space is have a little bit of white, because I'm going to write X Factor on there. So I'm going to use, I have this vanilla Craft Smart paint. I don't know why this is, I prefer this over some actual white recently. It gets some of that paint stuck up in there. So I have like a little, well, maybe it's just, yeah. So I kind of put that down in there. So look, I'm just going to put it right on here. And then I'm going to tell you what I think the X factor of an artist is. So I just kind of want some paint here, maybe a little bit more paint than that. So I have a space to be able to write the word X Factor on there. Feels like it's still kind of thick in there. Now you could tape this off, use some painter's tape, use some washi tape, and you could tape it off and make it all even if you wanted to. I don't really care about even too much. I don't know, sometimes I like a more uneven, just however it happens. So that way I just have a little bit, I think I'm going to have it come out just a little bit farther. See if I can get more paint to come out of here. Okay, here is what I think the X factor of an artist is. Something that makes the artist unique. And this is why I wanted to use the word X factor, because I feel like the X factor that anyone who wants to be creative has is themselves. It's you. You are unique, different from everyone else, and that is what makes your art unique. I put my paintbrush in the water, so I needed to wash it off. I just want that to come out a little bit farther. And here's what that means. You're the one who makes your art unique. And you have to believe that you are. Right? So what if a unicorn didn't believe like how magical they were? So I'm going to write in that little space in there. You could also cut out a piece of paper and put it on there to do a word. I just wanted to paint over top of it. I'm going to use the art glitter again to glue this on, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to put the envelope on there. This art glitter works really well for some of these like little spaces, like the legs and the horn on the unicorn, because you can just put a little tiny bit on there. So I still just have it on the envelope. I don't have the envelope attached yet. And this art glitter is small enough. If I feel like I didn't get enough right there, I can just kind of like lift that up, get that right in there, and just like press it back down. So it's going to be my little envelope. And I think that I want some color on the back here to be able to put it down. So I'm going to use some pink. And I really only kind of need it in the background, like around the edges. So anyway, you have to believe that you are unique. And I feel like that is like the missing part sometimes, that people don't trust that they are unique in how they create. They don't have confidence in who they are, and it doesn't come across when they create. They're very hesitant and not confident about what they're doing. And I get it when it is something that you haven't done before. But we create things all day long that we haven't done before. I'm sure you've probably created a recipe that you've never done before. I'm sure that you have put clothes together that you've never worn together. Like, we do creative things all the time, but for some reason, when we're creating artwork, because it feels more vulnerable, maybe, that someone's going to critique it. And I think that that's what the difference is. I feel like we don't have the confidence to just believe that what we're creating is good. I'm using like one hand for little quotation marks, because who's to say that it's, good anyway? It's your art. It is. I love this this neon pink. It's Craft Smart. I love the pink. So I might have to add some pink around in here because that's not quite bright enough. I'm going to use the pink that's right on the lid here and my smaller little paintbrush. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this pink and add to what's already here to just brighten it up a little bit. To just make it more neon pink. And this is what I did with the owl. I kind of added to it and changed it a little bit. This neon paint is a little bit more transparent. So you can kind of still see, some of what's underneath there. I think I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit more pink on here than how it started. And then I'm really kind of changing that unicorn to make it a little bit more mine. One of the other things that you can use over already printed paper like this is Posca pens. And they work really well to be able to have something that's more opaque in there. And I may come in and do a little bit more of that. I'm adding a little bit more pink for the body here too. As I get less paint on there, then I can kind of like rub it around a little bit more. I feel like I want the heart a little bit more of a red, and then the cheek there too. So I think I am going to come back in with Posca markers for those two things. So this is going to go on the front, and now see how that pink, since it kind of ties that all together there. And this is still a little bit wet over here, so I'm going to come in. I may do some other things with this border here too. Put some Posca marks or something in there too. But I'm going to have that envelope on there, and then I'm going to have that little book go in here, and I'm going to write in here some of the qualities that I feel like are my X factor, right? About what I do. And it's going to be my little reminder, and that's why I wanted to have it in an envelope. So I may even put like my X factor qualities or something on the front there. But what I'm going to do is glue this envelope So I'm going to glue this side down, then I'm going to have a piece of paper over here, and I think that I'm going to have it over on this side too. So what I'm going to do is take some of my paper. I really kind of like that, but it's not quite big enough. So let's see what other papers I have. See if one of these is big enough. Nope, not quite on that one either, but I feel like this kind of goes with the envelope pretty well. So I feel like that might actually work pretty well in there. So what I'm going to do is put this inside the envelope and make sure I have it kind of evenly spaced in there. Yeah, you could actually make your own envelope if you wanted. Now I have that little leftover piece of paper. I'd have to use that. So that is going to go on the envelope. And then I'm going to have, I think I'm going to use the same paper. Let me see. These all kind of go together. So maybe I can find one that kind of coordinates with that one. That's maybe more of a solid. Ooh, like, I feel like that works pretty well. So let's use that. Okay, so I'm going to glue this on here. Sometimes I do that with the art glitter. I forget to take the lid off. And then I'm going to spend some time today probably putting some things in that little book, that little zine, and I'll show you some of the words and different things that I was looking through that I might use in there. So I want to make sure it's going to open up so I have the unicorn like that. I could have had the envelope this way. I don't think that would have made as much sense though. So I'm going to glue this part down, but then I'm going to have this piece of paper fit over top of that. And I'm noticing that I have a little bit of the edges on here, so I may do something else because I'm noticing the paint doesn't come over enough. So let me have the paint come over a little bit more. Here is what I will tell you about being confident. Sometimes you just have to do something. Like you aren't going to feel confident beforehand. Let me give you an example. I have been doing live videos since 2020, and I have never come on to a live video and done exactly what I'm doing right now. So it was something unfamiliar. I wasn't sure, like, is this going to work out? What color? I didn't even know what color I was going to use for the background. I literally just have some paint on my table, and that was what I went with. So that looks like it covers it up now. I literally didn't know before I came on what I was going to do. And that does take a level of confidence to be able to do that. I didn't have that before I started 6 years ago. I just showed up. And sometimes when you are creating, that is what you have to do, is you just have to show up. And you have to be okay with creating bad art. Like, I've created a lot of bad art since I have started, creating more consistently again. I'm going to put some on the back here. I'll tell you, this art glitter glue, there's no glitter in it, by the way. It works really well. It stays in place pretty quick. And you don't need very much of it. So I'm going to put some words on the front here, wait for that to completely dry. I'm going to have this open up. I like the, how it kind of coordinates. And then this little book, I may stick in like that. And I'll have something kind of on here. I'm going to put some other little designs. Maybe these same flowers I will put kind of around in here. I may look to see if inside of this Tandy book there may be some flowers, that kind of resemble those. So maybe I will find some little flowers that I can cut out and add to on here, so it'll all kind of go together. And then some of the words that I may put inside of this little book of my X Factor are things like this. I had this printed out, and there are all of these little things, like this one says brave here. So I could cut that out and I could put that, in my little book here. This one says free spirit. This one says play on here, and maybe that's one of the qualities that I want to, that I want to have. So I can add color to this. I can put those little words in there, and that is my plan, to have that little book fit inside there with the little unicorn about my X Factor qualities. And that is the letter X. It is one that I could have used X-Acto, like I figured out, but it is the word that I wanted to pick to just remind you about your own X Factors and to believe in them, so that you have the confidence to show up for yourself and be creative and do it with the intention of that it doesn't have to be perfect, that you can create bad art, because you have to show up, create the art, because the consistency and the repetition of that is naturally, just by the fact of numbers, at some point in there you're going to create some things that you do like, that are good art, that are creative, that you really enjoy. And if the intention is to play and have fun, then they're going to be successful anyway. Like, I don't know that this is like the greatest art, but did I have fun with this unicorn? I'm going to have more fun, like putting some more things in there and, adding a little bit of paint and, coordinating, making this little zine. I'm going to have fun, like decorating that. And then, the neon pink, that's just like always fun. Be okay with showing up for yourself and just doing your own style, your unique art, because that's what it's about. It's your X Factor, is the way that you create is uniquely yours. And there's my little pep talk for you today. So next week will be the letter Y. We're almost to the very end, almost 26 weeks through the year. And then I have a whole new set of words for the second half of the year to go through to fill up the entire book of the watercolor book that I've been using. So come back next week, and I will probably do a little video of this after I get it all finished and all the words in the book and everything sometime this week. I don't know that it'll be today, but come back next week at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for Art in the AM and the next ABCs of Art for the letter Y, and I'll see you then.